I can't tell if I am live yet. Yay, yay. Okay. I think I think that I am live. uh Facebook, thank you, has totally changed the interface. I was going to be recording this on my professional page. Did not work. If you can hear me, please let me know because I don't know if you can hear me or not. I don't even know how long I've been live. But hello, welcome. Uh, First episode of Rich Witch Wednesday. My friend Suzanne Evans issued a challenge, and I am so gullible for challenges. So, of course. Yesterday she said do a Facebook Live, so today I'm doing a Facebook Live. And I've really been taking this period of quarantine to really, my focus has been on staying connected. Like that is everything for me right now. Uh, so I'm setting up all these opportunities to answer questions and be of service. I made some very good decisions over the last couple of years, and I'm going to digress into that, and then I'm going to dive into the first question, and then send me questions, and we can do Q&A right live here. But I do have a question that I'll address first. But what I wanted to say is I have known that this economic downturn was coming for at least 2 years, that it was going to hit in 2020. I'm very good at knowing what's coming. I did not expect a pandemic, but I've been making very deliberate business and financial choices for the last 2 years. Thought I might be crazy. And it's funny because people think that, oh, Morgana is this abundance coach and only has positive thoughts. Um, and what I really want to say, because I'm talking about practical magic, is that positive thinking and rehearsing for positive outcomes is really, really important. And we also want information. We do not want to hide from bad news. We do not want to hide. There's no power in that. So when I was seeing signs that we were going to have an economic downturn in 2020, I used that to prepare, which some people might think that that's negative thinking. But now I'm really, really grateful that the choices that I've been making for the last 2 years have put me in a really secure position now. And by the way, in 2008, I had the same thing. I knew it was a bubble. I don't know why everybody else wasn't saying it was a bubble. It seemed obvious to me that it was a bubble. And so I hired a financial planner because I had that urge. And by the way, that's really important, is to listen. Like, we know so much more than our conscious minds will admit, and we can talk ourselves out of that inner knowing. But I knew I needed help. So I hired a financial planner, and all of my lifetime of investments were liquidated and in cash a week before the stock market crashed. It isn't that I know anything about stocks, because I don't, but I can see bigger trends, and I listen to my impulse, and it's not a panic. It's just like, prepare. And so because all my stuff was in cash instead of stocks, that was really, really lucky in 2008. So I'm going to set that aside. That's just something that's been on my mind. So if you look at my streaming and you see my timeline has positive stuff, but it also has, this is what's going on with the coronavirus. Wear a mask, stay home, prepare for the worst so that you can be positioned in a place of power. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but be prepared. So that is my soapbox for that right now. If anybody is watching, yay, great. So yeah, just please comment and say hi so that I know that you're here. And also, if you have any questions, I'm yours. So here's the question that I'm going to begin with. This was posted in a group that I belong to, and I'm not going to share her name and I'm not going to share anything specific that would reveal who it is. But because what she's experiencing is so common, and I've been there too, that's why I'm gonna read it to you and then I will answer. So this person wrote, I'm honestly feeling a bit defeated. Right now, I want to ask for support around diffusing some of the frustration I'm experiencing, she says. She writes, my husband and I are several tens of thousands of dollars deep into different business coaching programs, and we have yet to make money in our business besides a few sporadic clients here and there. It seems everyone's strategy is post on social media several times a day, post live stories, etc., host a free webinar weekly, and then bombard your ideal clients on social media with invitations to the free webinar from which you sell your services or get them to book a call. Honestly, she writes, whenever I have someone reaching out to me, I get a visceral reaction because I know they're planning to be selling me something. Who else feels that? Hello? And most of the time they are blunt about it. Occasionally they'll engage in a bit of conversation. So I know I don't want to be this annoying person to send hundreds of DMs per day playing the numbers game. Thank you, she says. I'm saying to her, so that eventually some of them will actually show up to my free webinar and buy. She also writes, my posts and lives are getting pretty much no engagement and I'm getting no signups to my free webinar. And when I ask my coach about it, she tells me to change my attitude and show up with better energy online because I'm not being interesting enough for people to respond to. Oh my God. I am so angry at your coach on your behalf. So the things that your coach is teaching you. First of all, she's not a coach. She's a marketing teacher, and she's teaching you what somebody else taught her, somebody else taught him, somebody else. It goes, what you're being taught is like 10 years old information. And by the way, it worked great then, but it's old. And when everybody is zigging, when you see everybody doing the same thing, don't do that. You become part of the noise. So, first of all, let's take a little of the blame off you. And also, you're not unique. I have spent really, honestly, hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaches and trainings that were really disappointing. Very, very often, they did not deliver on their promises that were in their contracts. Now, here's the thing. I've never asked for a refund because I've always known that I'm responsible. Like, I am 100% responsible for my business. So I look for what I can get out of it, even if I get 1% out of it. I am in the luxury of having been doing this long enough that I'm okay now, but I failed a lot in the early days. So I want to condense your learning curve, less pain. So first of all, people who tell you what to do are not coaches. They're teachers. Coaches don't tell you what to do. Coaches help you uncover what to do. And I know you know this because you're a coach trainer. I'm giving a little bit of information about you. So the blaming is, that's like one of my pet peeves in the coaching industry. 10 years ago, I was in an awful mastermind, a $20,000 mastermind. One of the biggest regrets ever was because I think that teacher was a sociopath, and I will not name him. And I still did well despite him. And he took credit for it, even though not a single thing I got from. The only thing I learned from him was what not to do. So back to you got there. This post received some really, really good advice that I will share with you here about going back to the fundamentals. It's not the tactics. It's not the kind of car you're driving. A tactic is a car. It can be a bicycle. It can be a Maserati. It can be one of those amphibious machines. It can be any kind of vehicle. The vehicle doesn't matter. Because you can get there from lots of different vehicles, and a vehicle that works for Alice or Joe may not work for you. Like lots of people ride motorcycles. I don't. Um, so get to the real fundamentals of the journey, which is really honing into what your magic is, what you do better for your ideal people than anybody else in the world. Even if a lot of you are teaching the same thing, really, really dig into what makes you different. And it's not just that you listen or that you hold space or you're a nice person, because there are a lot that's not different. Like I like to say, your wealth is in your weirdness. I like to use outlandish, edgy language that turns some people off, like witch. Go into what makes you different. Go into what other people are doing that you don't like, and use that as part of a positioning of what makes you different. Really get into the fundamentals of the problem you solve, for who your ideal person is. And if everybody is throwing stuff online all the time in this sort of like mass market way, do what they're not doing. For example, if everybody is posting stuff all the time, I mean, you can continue to do that, but very, very, very few people are making any money that way, because everybody's doing it, because it's very noisy. I used to make millions of dollars being guests on telesummits. I could do an hour interview and know that I would make between $10,000 and $100,000 for 1 hour. That has not been true for many years. It's not that I'm not as good. It's just that it became so noisy that it loses impact. So do what other people are not doing. For example, do mainstream media, do real TV, do real radio, do real magazines. That's one route. Speaking of radio, hey, I'm launching my first episode of Crazy Sexy Midlife Love today, April 1st. No April Fool's joke, 5 p.m. Pacific time. The web address, and I'll type it in the comments, is bbsradio.com/crazy sexy. Okay, plug over. Speaking of radio, because I'm looking at what other people are doing, and I'm zagging. If they're all doing podcasts and they're all doing webinars and they're all doing summits, it's not that I stopped doing those, but I want to do something a little different. Okay, that's one different. But again, that's strategy. And that may work for you and may not. One of my best friends 20 years ago, another coach, every time she would go out to lunch with somebody, she would go home with a client. I've never booked a client that way. I just would coach my heart out, and they would feel great, and I would go home defeated. So I don't do that. So what I do think is useful in this moment of everybody selling is to pull back, have offers ready at the right moment. But for example, when I go to a live event, and this has always surprised me, it doesn't surprise me anymore. Now I make a game of it, but I would go to live events just to meet people, have relationships, be inspired. And then I would go home, and somebody from that live event that I didn't even remember connecting with would contact me and want to hire me for a $10,000 VIP day. And I didn't go with that intention at all. But I just showed up, and I was of service, and I was being really, really me, which people either like or they're repulsed. I say, don't be vanilla, have a flavor, pick cilantro. People will love you or they'll hate you, and you won't hear from the people who hate you, or you can block them if you do. Since we aren't doing live events, you can do the same thing in social media, which is just show up and be brilliant. Be the brilliant one. Just keep demonstrating brilliance. This is not an instant get clients tomorrow strategy, but I don't think that instant get results now strategy hasn't been working for you. It hasn't worked for me. What you do is you're planting seeds. And I also said, get some sort of outside income stream so that you have time, because it takes time to build a business, usually 2 years. Nobody tells you that when they're selling you their program to get rich now. And there are exceptions, but not very many. Those overnight successes typically were struggling for years, and then boom, something clicked. So for me, what changed my results was changing my relationship with money. That's what people know me for. Honestly, I was doing everything right for years and not making money, really being famously spectacular for getting movie star clients and movie star results. They weren't movie stars when they came, but they were after I coached them. And still managing to eke out $100 a month living in one of the most expensive cities in the world. I say that with a badge of pride. Like I am the poster child for financial failure back then. And it wasn't until and it's not positive thinking. And oh my God, I had the vision boards and I had all of it. You know, I did everything every coach told me to take. I took every class and managed to do everything right and still make nothing. And I really, really hit bottom to use a 12-step program thing. It was just like, I gave up. I was defeated. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to play. I ran out of hope. And that was actually when I had that life-changing conversation with my coach a day or two later, when he asked me, if your money was a person, who would your money be? And I saw this scary person. And that's when my financial situation made sense, when I made money a person. And then changing that relationship became the seed of a multi-million-dollar business that I've had over the last 20 years. So been coaching for longer than that, but I started making money back really in 2003 after I changed my relationship with money. So in that regard, your coach who says change your energy may be correct, but blaming you and shaming you is bullshit, pardon my language, and it's her job. If you've got some kind of inner block, it's her job to help you get out of it. She should have tools for that. So anyway, the last question I received from this person was how to get an outside income source. So I will tell you, after I changed my relationship with money in March 2003, oh my God. So what was that? That was 17 years ago last month. And then the next day, 4 people hired me at double what I'd ever charged before in my life. And I actually had to go through the process of biting my tongue and not talking them out of the sale, which I didn't recognize I was doing until that moment, or that I had been doing. So anyway, one of the conversations I had with my new relationship with money, the money we now call the money honey, once the money monster was gone, was first he said, stop treating me like a monster, stop pushing me away. And then we had a strategy conversation, which is kind of what is so groovy about having a relationship with money that is a person. And he said, well, you know, months ago, Harvecker's company, Peak Potentials, reached out to you to be a coach for them, and you said no. And stop being a snob, my money honey said, and say yes. So I actually became a coach for them for maybe a year and a half or something, a year and a half or 2, I don't remember. And they had I had great community. Michael Peak was a coach there. Mari Smith was one of my peers. There were a lot of really great coaches also doing this. And for me, it took the edge off. It gave me a cushion being a coach for somebody else's company. I still did my own thing, but the head coach at that time, who seemed so straight-laced and, you know, crew cut and button-down shirt, looked so conservative, was actually really intuitive. And he would send me really good ideal clients, who many of whom I'm still in relationship with to this day. And so it was paying very little, but they were sending me so many um, that I got really, really just a lot of coaching practice in much shorter periods of time. And it took the financial edge off. So that's what I did was I started out coaching for another company while I built my own private practice. And then there came this pivot point where I was charging so much more for the private coaching that it no longer made economic sense to work for Harv at all anymore. Plus, their head coach had changed and the culture had changed, and it, mm, a lot of us left at that time. Um, I don't know what it's like now. It may be great. I really don't know. So other things you can do. You can be a coach for another company. At the time, I was like very judgmental about the breakdown of the economics, where his company kept 70% and gave us 30%. And I thought that was crazy. But now, having been a really successful coaching company owner for decades, when I look at the numbers and what he was putting into marketing, putting on his live events, his staff, his legal, all the administration, yeah, okay. I rescind every negative thing I thought at that time. It made sense, because I didn't have to do any of the marketing, or any of the money collection, or I just didn't need to do any of that. I just got to do what I loved and coached. So that's one thing, is to coach for other people. Taking a job, and if you Google on YouTube. I shot a video maybe 10 years ago about not quitting your job. I know that there's a real negative thing in the personal development and coaching industry, calling a job a just over broke. I had a billionaire mentor in, I think it was 2007. I kind of won a 15-minute meeting with him at an event that I went to, and he liked me. So we just became pals and kept meeting for months, and I got to just really, really nice guy, very surprising. I really got to just study his life and business strategy. He was so open about it, very nice, generous person. And one of the things that he said to me is he didn't believe in taking out loans if possible, because then it just gets you into like paying all this interest. And that's what got me the idea that having a job is like having an interest-free business loan, which I think is brilliant. You're getting income, hopefully you're getting benefits, and it takes the edge off, and you have less time to waste. You have to be very strategic about what you do with your time, who you interview as a client, and you become really efficient. And that is a good thing. And I say, do that. Get really efficient with your time and your money, and you start to become, if you don't need everybody who comes along, then you get to pick the best clients who get the best results, who will love you the most, which builds your confidence and your happiness. And that is a faster way to build a lucrative business, because you are not desperate, because your fundamental needs are met first. You only meet people on your time because you already have committed a chunk of time to this job. So if you only work on weekends or only work after 7, then you only work with people who are willing to work the way you work. Really, really important. And I think that is all upside, no downside, until the thing you're building. Then there will hit a moment, like it did when I let go of Harv's program, where what you're building makes more sense than the job. And then you let go of the job, or you renegotiate the job to have fewer hours and more flexibility, which is also possible too. And I know things look horrible outside, and for goodness sake, stay safe. That's the most important thing. I say to you now what I've said to a person when she was suicidal, because it's what I wish somebody had said to me, and I believe it very, very, very deeply. And I'm saying it to like all of you watching now, is stay alive. Like that is the number one job right now, is stay alive until it gets better. It will get better. That it's just the circle of life, the wheel of fortune. Things go down and then they go up. But you have to be alive for it. That is always your number one job, is stay alive long enough for things to get better, because it does come round again. And I've been on the loop enough times to like, do I panic when things look awful? Sure. And then I remember, oh, I've been here before. And I'm still here. And I hope that is comforting to you. And I don't think we're at the bottom yet as a planet, but it will get better. So take every precaution to protect your income and protect your body and protect your relationships, and whatever you need to do, stay around long enough for it to get better. And also in your business, keep your business alive long enough for it to get better. If the coaches you're working with are not working for you, let them go. Keep the learning, because even if it doesn't apply right now, that will come around too. Like, I think I told you I was making millions of dollars as a guest on telesummits, and then I saw that dry up. It will come back, but the business matured and it became too populous. And that will change too. People will drop out. Anything you learn will come in handy at some point, even if it's what not to do, can sometimes be the most valuable lessons. And oh, here's the biggest thing that I want to say is trust yourself, respect yourself more. Always. I would say that is the number one solution to everything. Everything I teach with financial alchemy and uncovering and creating and eliminating your money monster and replacing it with this new relationship with your money honey, which, if you don't know my work, sounds very easy and very simple. And I'm not going to use that time to teach it deeply here, because I have so many resources at morganaray.com. But it's really like, what is the secret of financial alchemy that makes it work? It is a hack, like a brain hack, to trust yourself more, even if you have to look through the eyes of this imaginary beloved other person who doesn't have any of your neuroses, who sees the bigger picture, who is all possibility, and sees who you really are. Behind the wounds, behind the disappointment, without the panic. It's like a way of getting out of your what reptile reactive frightened brain to the frontal lobe, where your genius and your good solutions come to, by dealing head on with everything that isn't working, not pretending it isn't working, but really dealing with it so that you can go through it to a place, a meta place of peace, where you have not hidden from anything, but you've gone through it to the other side. That's really all it is a process to get from the back of your brain to your frontal lobe, where you are your most resourceful, where even if the world is crashing down around you, everything changes, even before the circumstances change. And the circumstances will change, but it doesn't matter, because you can see what to do even with all these circumstances. That's the point, is to get to your genius zone. So even if you need to pretend to be seeing the world and yourself through the eyes of the other, it's really about trusting yourself more, loving yourself more. And that's when you get the best results, but you don't get to those results by pretending everything's okay when it's not. No, there's no power in pretending. So I'm going to now look at, that was a very long way to answer one longish question. I hope I answered it. I hope I answered it. Okay, uh, Jessica writes, she has wariness around using the word witch. Well, here's the thing is, words work and then they stop. And there's going to be a point where everybody's going to be using witch. I think I'm saying it too much already. It's always a chase. And then I'll have to come up with something new. So, alchemy, then I was doing my money goddess retreat. Now everything is so goddessy that I just, I had to find something edgier. And I come to the whole goddess language because my mom is a witch, was a witch 35 years ago. Name me Morgana 53 years ago, and now I understand why. But I use witch as a real term of empowerment, because powerful women scare people. Make peace with that. Some people will love you, some people will be scared. There's no magic in neutrality, so I actually embrace polarity, both in my work, alchemy, lead, gold. There's contrast there. So you just want to stand out. And be safe. Like, I've been online for, oh my God. Yeah, at least 25 years. Part of it is because despite appearances, I'm actually very shy and really kind of introverted. I'm horrible going to parties and schmoozing, or going to events and networking, trying to hustle to get clients. Like I mentioned that I go to events and go home and think I just made a bunch of friends, and then somebody hires me and gives me a lot of money, and I'm like surprised because I didn't see it coming. But I'm horrible at hustling because it's not my nature. So I got on the internet because it's safer for me. I can control it. If I'm not live broadcasting, I can edit all of the stupid things I say that I don't even know that I said, because I'm like channeling it half the time. And I may go later, oh, maybe that was a little too harsh. Maybe I didn't want to share that. Or I started out writing things. I started my electronic newsletter in 2002, because making calls to hot prospects, to people who wanted to hire me, was so terrifying to me. Staying in touch with people by phone, still uncomfortable. So I started my electronic newsletter in 2002 because it just was safer than talking to somebody live where they might reject me. Where did that come from? And that's, by the way, another thing is sometimes I go on a story and I lose my train of thought. And then we move on. So what was the point here? Yeah, somebody is using all the words. Okay, looking forward to my radio show. Yay. By the way, what I'm most excited about the radio show coming up is I'm doing it with Devin. So when I lose my train of thought or I'm feeling stupid, I can shut up and Devin can be brilliant and nobody will ever know that I'm spacing out. And I also am sharing that I space out or I forget the point of stories sometimes because it doesn't matter. So if you've been holding back because you're not perfect, stop it. Stop it. Nobody cares. Be human. Give permission to other people to be human. You don't have to be perfect to succeed. In fact, perfection is I wrote to a friend yesterday, perfection is the enemy of progress. Fix it as you go along. Everybody makes mistakes. It's how you clean them up. That's what I pay attention to. Okay. Vicky writes, how do I have the courage to publish my book? I don't know if I should go with the publisher or self-publish. I have very strong opinions on that. I'm still getting over some serious stuff, including a lawsuit. Oh, yeah, that that's rough. Okay, so, there I am. Okay, so I have strong opinions on publishing versus self-publishing because I self-published and it was a great experience and I've made a ton of money. And I know people who have conventionally published. Some had great experiences. Some people had really bad experiences. I don't think it's necessary to give your power away anymore. You don't need to give the rights to a publisher. They are not going to market you anyway. You're going to have to do as much work if you self-publish. Now, what a publisher does do for you is they have very professional people who design the cover and do the editing. And there are very professional people who used to be in the regular publishing industry who are now servicing self-published. So I had I think I took my book upstairs, so I can't hold it up. But my financial alchemy workbook, I made $50,000 within a couple of days when I had my book launch in 2013. And I've made hundreds of thousands since then with my self-published book. And I control it and I keep the money. Would I republish with a conventional publisher? Maybe with the right one. I really like Mark Allen, who has Eckhart Tolle and some of my favorite authors, for maybe a relaunch, if I like the terms. But it's way more powerful to self-publish first, I think, because I do all my own marketing anyway. And self-publishing, I recommend a woman named Vicki Winterton. She will get you to #1 best-selling author. When I had my book launch, I hired somebody named Lynn Serafin, greatest experience of my life. But she doesn't do that work anymore. So Vicki Winterton, one of my favorite ladies, I've been down to her live Expert Insight Publishing Awards events. Almost all of them. Didn't go this year because of the virus. Not only will she publish your book, she's got editors, she's got graphic designers, she's got best-selling authors, she's got stars from The Secret, she's got people from NASA and really big, smart people are publishing with her. And when you publish with her, not only will she do a campaign for you to get your book to #1, but then you will also get to speak on her stage in front of all of these powerful people in this gorgeous resort in Mexico. So again, that's my personal opinion, is I don't really see the benefit to conventional publishing right now, unless maybe you're a celebrity and can get a 6-figure advance or something. There will always be exceptions. But you can make 6 figures self-publishing too. So I've been on every major television network. I've been on the biggest radio shows in the world with my self-published book. I published it through a company called Lightning Source, which was bought by Ingram. What that means, because it's published by Ingram will sell to all the books. It has printing facilities all over the planet. It prints in Africa, it prints in Australia, it prints in Asia, it prints in Europe, it prints in North America and South America. So bookstores everywhere in the world can order from Ingram. And if somebody returns the bookstore can return it to Ingram, where they will keep it or destroy it depending on your choice. So it's not the way it used to be. So that is my very, very passionate opinion about publishing versus self-publishing. Prove me wrong. I'm happy to see people succeed any way they choose. Any other questions, or we'll wrap it up? Because I have a virtual yoga class to attend at 11 a.m. Just a reminder, if you have questions, I'm also going to be launching next week a podcast, Rich Witch Radio. But so if you have questions, show up live Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. here on Facebook for Rich Witch Wednesdays. And I have a ton of other questions that I'm going to dump into iTunes. I'm shooting for next week. The pandemic has just slowed things down. I was home all the time anyway, because as my husband says, I'm a shut-in. I like to be home. Uh, I miss my yoga on the beach classes and my West Coast swing classes. But other than that, life is really not very different. Mostly just taking in the information, connecting with people all over the planet that I care about to see how they're doing, worrying about how this is impacting other people, trying to come up with solutions, being of service, contacting former clients when it's like, oh my God, this thing that you do, now's your time, and giving them ideas on how to leverage this moment. So it has really slowed me down on the launch of Rich Witch Radio on iTunes, but that's coming this month, I promise. But in the meanwhile, what is 100% guaranteed, minus any tech problems, is that Crazy Sexy Midlife Love is scheduled to launch today at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I gave the website. I sent out the call-in number to call in with your questions to my mailing list. I'll also say it at the beginning of the show, I hope. I remember. And so 5 p.m. bbsradio.com/crazy sexy. Devin and we will talk about our 100 weddings, and then just to kind of, start the show off, and then we will open up the lines, because I think what is going to make this radio show work is you, the audience, calling in, because that is my happy place, is relationship, engagement, and service. Plus my husband is super charming and wise. Mwah. So wrapping it up, a lot longer than I thought. And namaste, everybody. And now I have to figure out how to end this. Bye.